stupid thing.
And we are live. We are back at it. Day 2.
Hanging out with Rick.
So Kenny's been down here for how many days? You been down here?
A little over a week.
A little over a week, and I had a chance to basically do some load development. So I went from a DTAC 115s for the 6 Creedmoor, and now I'm all out of those because you can't find anything. And I was lucky enough to get some hybrids and some VLDs in 105.
Yep.
So things are different. I'm not a reloader per se. I have the reloading equipment. I know how to reload, but I call it parrot reloading. So that what that means is I'm basically, after it's all figured out and I have my turret set for everything, as long as I'm loading the same powder, the same this, the same that, you know, and everything's basically the same and already at the right distances, then I can reload. But until then, there's a lot of things. So talk about today, talk about what we've been doing. We're going to talk about targets and what to look for. And before we get going, I am not an expert. Kenny knows a lot more. I'm not saying that he's an expert, but he has a lot more knowledge in what we're doing today and what we're going to talk about. So this may help you guys and gals out there as well. So
yep. So this chat's primarily going to be open to you guys. If you have any questions, we are going to be basically discussing about reloading for precision. Yeah, can't even get it out. We're going to talk about basically loading for a precision centerfire cartridge, specifically 6 Creedmoor. This will also entail towards other cartridges out there. Having the ability to actually build all of these rifles, I do. I shoot every single one of these and I test them down range, and I start noticing certain things that are a little bit consistent with performance. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up is, and I started telling this to my folks that are asking me about reloading and what should I do for reloading. The key to reloading is to not be a pro 100-yard shooter. We have some targets which we're going to share with you guys, things that I actually see when I shoot a 100-yard group, which is probably not really discussed with a lot of other YouTube channels out there discuss about reloading.
We're waiting because everybody's coming in too. So
yeah, we're also waiting for some folks to come in. But basically, we're going to discuss our load development, what we've seen with the groups that we're trying to shoot, and basically share my experience with you guys, what I see downrange at 100 yards, what to look out for when you're shooting for your load development, key things to note for, and help you guys with getting your load development done. So this chat will be open up to you guys for questions. If you have any questions, reloading gear, equipment, things that we need to, that you're trying to accomplish, and also goals in mind. One thing we're trying to achieve is 3,000 feet a second. We're trying to slow this bullet down and get more consistent impacts at 1,000 yards.
So I'm running a lot longer barrel than I originally thought. So when Kenny was watching videos of me and I'm shooting at X amount of yardage, and we're talking about basically the dope data on previous engagements, and it's 7.2 or whatever it was, right?
Right.
And you're like, man, you should be at, that thing is screaming, or whatever. So he was thinking that my barrel, the one that
I made,
you made, sitting here, it was actually longer than what it was. So we measured it. Would it come in at 20?
Like almost 29, or was it?
Yeah, something.
Yeah,
it was something a lot longer than we thought. So I think we were originally thinking it was 26 inches or something.
Yeah. So when I started getting into building these rifles specifically for 6 Creedmoor, I was very inexperienced with the 6 Creedmoor itself. So since I've been building these rifles, I found out that 24-inch length or 22-inch length gets that optimal velocity without going over the cap limit of 3,200 feet a second, which is what PRS caps you at. They don't allow you to shoot anything faster than 3,200 feet a second. So the 105 is obviously a lighter bullet for the 6 Creedmoor. Typically, you'll see like 109, 110s, 115s. You were shooting the DTACs like you were saying.
Yeah. And the thing with components right now is tough. So
right,
I was super lucky to get 105. Some people like the 109. Some people don't like the 109s, and they like the 105s better. It's all over the board because, one, maybe that rifle enjoys that pill better.
Yeah.
105 and 109, 115, whatever the case is. That rifle's always shot really good with the 115s.
Yeah. So through my testing, shooting the 6 Creedmoor a lot, the 115s work great. But I started comparing the 115s to, like, for instance, a 112 match burner from Barnes versus a 109 Burger, a hybrid versus a 105. What I found is that the 105 Burgers, specifically the hybrid, started outperforming, at least for me and a few other rifles I tested, better than the heavier grain projectiles. You had lighter recoil, you had better consistent impacts at longer range, 1,000 yards or longer. Typically, PRS matches are points are won or are gathered at 700 yards and in. That's majority of your courses of fire. So I told Rick, hey man, try out the 105s in the 6 Creedmoor. A lot of guys shoot the 105s in the Dasher, GTs, BRs. I shoot it in the 6 Arc. It's been my number one go-to, and he got lucky pretty much picking up 5,000 rounds, 5,000 bullets.
Yeah.
So we're shooting Hodgdon 4350. His barrel is a 29-inch. Like I said, when I was getting the 6 Creedmoor, I didn't know the optimal length. I was looking into the future, like saying, all right, you're going to burn your barrel out. We could cut off 3 or 4 inches, rechamber that thing, and reuse that barrel. That was my philosophy for going that long of a barrel. Honestly, if you think about a 6 Creedmoor or a 6mm barrel in general, it's pretty much a disposable component. You're going to burn out that barrel, but you're trying to compete at the top level, so you got to factor that in. A barrel will cost you roughly $400 to $700, depending who makes your barrel. So we could talk.
Yeah, and that one's what, a Douglas.
Yep.
Hand select.
Yeah, Douglas hand select premium. He is running a faster twist rate. This is a 1 in 7. So controversial topic. Folks will say you're over stabilizing that 105, or for instance,
I think that's a 7.5.
I believe it was. Yeah, if it's 7.5,
I'm gonna check while you keep talking.
Yeah, we can figure that out. But a lot of folks say, okay, if you're gonna run a 115, you definitely need to go with a 1 in 7 twist.
It's a 1 in 7.
1 in 7.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, I figured.
Well, you did build the damn thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, overstabilizing a bullet or understabilizing a bullet, it's not about the twist rate. It's about how fast you're pushing that bullet. And the faster you push a bullet, for instance, you're pushing, for instance, you had a 1 in 8.5 or maybe 1 in 9 twist. If you're pushing that 105 bullet at 3,100 feet a second, you're getting that stability because you're pushing that bullet and it's spinning fast. So that's the key factor. Twist rate. Faster twist rate for a heavier bullet is not necessarily something that is needed. It's all about basically the velocity as well. But yeah, we're just waiting for folks to come in here. If you guys have questions, definitely comment below. This would probably be a kind of a reloading chat and as component chat.
We got a lot of centerfire guys out there now. I know Joe M.
Yeah.
Hold Left Edge. A lot of those guys. So Jay Bird, he likes the 105s. Do great in the 6 Creed.
Yep. The PRS game is all about recoil mitigation. So the less recoil you get, the better you can spot your misses if you do miss on target and get your correction made. So that's why a lot of guys are dropping from the Creedmoor class of cartridges and experimenting with these short stubby cartridges. The GT, the Dashers, the BRs, all of that's been super popular this last year that I noticed.
Yeah, and what's really cool is if I decide to change anything, everything that's kind of going on right now, the 105s will work.
Yeah, exactly.
They may not be the magic bullet of choice, but I got enough for lots of practice. So
correct. Yep.
Let's jump out here and see who got first place.
Sure.
We got Talking Rock out there. Welcome, first place. We got Anthony in second. El Gato Grande 9064 coming out of the Southern California.
Oh, he's from SoCal?
Yeah, he's like my brother. That dude, I've known him
he's a SoCal
since I was a tiny little kid. He's actually retiring from the fire service in, I think, June.
Right on. Hey, man, thanks a lot for your service. Yeah, there's a lot of folks out there that I've bumped into that has helped me out. I work for the railroad. Folks don't know.
Working on and
yep. So.
Then we got DW. He saws out there. Martin Sharp, Red Raider Reloading, Bravado Racing, C. Beck, better known as Trophy Hunter. And we got let's see who I got. Oh, we got Hidden Steel from California.
Oh yeah, key to reloading is not to blow your face off. That's correct.
That's right. EP, we got Mr. Todd Elster.
What's up, Todd?
And Abigail from Florida.
Yeah.
And Talking Rock Tim Rink DW. Yay.
Is
Yay,
that 6
nah,
Creed?
yay.
Is the Creed board coming back to the IY6C?
It's always been here. It's just been I got a match coming up.
Right.
2-day center fire match, PRS in Alabama in 2 weeks. So I was super excited that you showed up to help me get a good load, because changing everything, the ogive's completely different. All that stuff. I mean, we're going to try to talk about some of this stuff. So maybe.
Yeah, we'll grab some reloading gear and share with you guys what we have. He's got a lot of good reloading equipment. And honestly, you don't need all of that. You can really get away with just basics. But the two things you really need is a comparator for measuring your shoulders, and a bullet comparator to get your max overall length.
It's about this tall.
Yeah, a little bit. And then and then you also need what I do recommend is a way to find your jam point on your chamber. Now we're using the Hornady max case overall length gauge, which has a modified case. You can buy the modified cases. Hornady does offer those. It is recommended to actually have a fire form case to your chamber. And the reason being for that is because a modified case that you can buy commercially does not compensate for your expansion of your brass. So depending on how your rifle is chambered, you can have expansion, 5,000s, hopefully less. That's the key thing with brand new brass. That way, you get an actual a good reading. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. But the problem is they just can't do it that way because
so
they don't know your chamber. They don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. So everything is sized on a Hornady case gauge, a modified case gauge is sized down to, Sammy spec or this original brand new case. And obviously it doesn't compensate for that. It gives you a good starting point.
What is that something that companies do where you could send in your brass?
Yeah. So actually I do this when I build custom rifles for folks, they can request a modified case gauge for me. Like I said, I shoot every single one of my rifles that I build. And if they would say, hey, I need a modified case gauge, they can hit me up. I got the, the drill bit, and I got the tap and die to make a modified case.
Yeah, because it's a special threat.
Yeah, actually, I'll go grab it. So if you guys are.
Yeah, and I'll say hi to everybody else that I haven't got here. And we got Yay Now Yay. Holding left edge, send it. And we got Jaybird out there. Joe M, welcome. Conservative Sniper Hunter, Talking Rock, Rifle Mania. Let's see, KK's out there. And Gated 157. Trying to catch up here. There's a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
X-Ring. X-Ring's at the casino.
What the hell?
We got Tree Feller 22LR Deja Vu. And
yeah.
Who else do we got out there? I haven't shouted out your name. We got Mr. Chico Wise in the house.
Chico Wise. He's
shooting that pistol stuff now.
He's been rocking out some IDPA. Is that what
he did? It good loud.
Yeah, he did a 2-gun match.
I haven't caught IY6 live stream. What's up, Chico? We got Wombat out there. What's going on?
Yep.
And you guys got lots of great comments, but I'm kind of just trying to get everybody here. See, Hornady will tap in Fireform case if you send it to them. Jeffrey Berry, welcome. Air Enthusiast, welcome. It says his 6 Creed, he likes the 108 ELDs.
Yeah, a lot of folks shoot the 108s. That's definitely another bullet. Now, if you have a ballistic solver, for instance, Stray Lock, you start running the 105. This is where I challenge you guys to test this out for yourself. Start running the 105 at 2990 feet a second. That's typically what I see. I have my rifle shoots it at 3,030 feet a second, and compare that. Basically your target's downrange of 700 yards, 1,000 yards. Your bullet drop and wind drift with a full blown 15 mile per hour crosswind at 9 o'clock. You'll start seeing even in the ballistic solver that the 105s start to outperform or keep up. Typically, I see about half mil less elevation and about 2 to 3 tenths less wind hold on the 105s. Now, this is
we went through that today.
Yeah, we showed that, Like I said, I did a lot of testing on this. I was going to do a video on it. Obviously, I try to stay away from reloading on my channel lately, just because there's a lot of information, and folks can perceive that certain ways. It's not a set in stone. There's always other ways how to do things, but I'm just want to share my experience.
Red Raider, I did buy out hydrogen the other day. I bought 16 pounds of that stuff.
Yep. So we have a target. Yeah, we got targets we took pictures of, and we'll share that in a little bit.
Yeah, we got the screenshots, so we're gonna put them up on the board so you guys actually get to see.
Yep. Basically,
as clear as we could get it.
Exactly. So when we're shooting for 100-yard groups, the thing about 100-yard groups, it doesn't really tell you much. It will tell you, okay, maybe you're in the node, but there's other factors involved, which will involve stability of the bullet. And so we'll go over that.
Let me go get that other thing.
Yeah. It's not about the tightest groups at 100 yards. And I know it may sound a little arrogant. It's not. I tell folks, don't be a pro 100-yard shooter, because 100 yards only tells you so much. In fact, a lot of the groups that I developed for loads for on these rifles really don't shoot the tightest groups at 100 yards. They actually hold that group size. For instance, I shot a 0.6 or 3/8 MOA.
This thing here is actually going to tell you, most people would pick this one.
Yeah, the one holer.
That one holer. And we're going to maybe change your mind today.
Yeah.
And
but basically share
some info.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is new to me. I would say, being a new reloader,
okay,
and a new centerfire PRS kind of shooter, I would be like, oh yeah, this is the one.
Well, let's let them decide. Let's hold the target up to the camera. I mean, these aren't the best groups, right?
Okay, so first off, everything's backwards to me. This is 40.6, 40.7, 40.8 going down. So these are 40.8s, 0.7s, 0.6s. So why don't you talk about this for a little bit, and then we'll actually show you not video footage, but
so
we're going to show you
some close-up pictures.
Close-ups here in a minute.
So you guys can see the group. I mean, obviously, these aren't the best groups. These are just initial load development. If you were out there shooting a group,
pick one. See how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. What target? What load would you settle on?
There's S as well, guys.
Yeah. What load would you settle on to start your load development based off what you see here?
Which one would you use?
That'd be the key question. I want to see what folks think.
Yeah, you guys pick the one you think. If you get a chance, hit the thumbs up button. We're trying to give you some good information, and hopefully get some new subscribers over here. I got to catch up to Josh Thomas, so I got to get all you CZ fanboy 22 shooters on here.
So,
what's up, Bill Sweeney?
Lead Mining saying number 5. Chico size. Chico size.
Chico size.
I am all over today. Yeah, Chico Y saying number 1. All right.
Now this is an S over here, guys. So you got an S 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the options are S 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
Let me
bottom right.
Try to make it as square as possible here.
Abigail says bottom left. Conservative sniper. So
this is a damn it. Yeah. This is a 3-shot group.
Yeah. So these are all 3-shot groups. So as you can tell, a lot of folks are probably like, "Oh shoot, is this a trick question?"
This is the trick question.
It really isn't a trick, and this is something that I've been doing for a long time as well. I mean, I would have picked number 5 and say, "Hey, that's the group I'm going to go for. That's my powder charge. I'm going to load up 100 rounds right now and go to the match."
Okay, so Hold Left has a great question too that should be in my notes. He wants to know what speeds are what.
Yeah.
So getting through all this, so you go through all this stupid reloading stuff. You trim cases, you clean brass, you resize, you do all this crap, you put powder in it. And right now, we did different powder charges. So that's what you see, 40.6, 40.7, 40.8. And we did this the other day, but we also, I had it hooked up to the magneto speed because I wanted to find speeds, SDs, and see what the minimum maximum feet per second was of each of those 3 loads.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of trying to backtrack to what we got, because this took place after we did some other stuff.
Right. So when you first start your load development, it always consult a reloading manual. But the first thing you want to do is set a goal. For instance, you want your rifle, you want that specific bullet, that 105 grain burger hybrid. I needed to do 2850, 2875 at minimum in order to have consistent impacts and get that velocity still supersonic out to 1,000 yards, right? So goal in mind, some folks will say I need to have single digit SDs. Truth be known, for PRS shooting, this the style of shooting PRS.
Make sure you say in your opinion quite a bit.
In my opinion, right? Yeah, because this is, like I say, this is controversial. Some folks will always have something to argue with, but this is why it's open to you guys. It's good to share this knowledge with everybody in the community. So, in my opinion, SDs, it is a good thing to focus on, but not so much stress about, specifically for shooting for PRS. You will make consistent impacts if you had a good position and your SDs are still at like 15. So my goal for me is a 12 SD or lower, and I also hold that MOA out to 1,000 yards. So for instance, I shoot a 0.65 inch group. This is what my 25 Creedmoor was doing. That 0.65 inch shooter had a SD of a consistent SD, meaning I could go out there right now with my ammo and it will put out a minimum an 8 SD or lower. That 0.65 inch group is not the tightest group that I load developed with. However, it shot a 0.65 or half MOA group at 1,000 yards. And I'm not saying I can consistently shoot that, but more out of 20 shots, it will hold about a 6-inch group at 1,000 yards.
There's a ton of good comment questions in here if you want to scroll back through.
Yeah.
So Joe M had asked about seating depth. We're going to get to that after we got to our the speed basically we want. Yeah. So originally we loaded up 16. What was it? 6 times 3, 18 rounds of the thing, and then it was 2-shot groups. That's how you ended up with 2-shot groups of each 40.6, 0.7, 0.8.
Yeah. So
here's this.
Yep. So our goal for this load development that we're doing for Rick's rifle was to hit around 3,000 feet a second. Honestly, we wanted it lower.
We should have took a picture of this so we could have screenshot it. Okay, so this is my crappy writing. I understand. I don't know how to spell well, even though it's spelled well. Right here, this way is 40.6, 40.7, and 40.8. So you guys will get a chance to see that. SDs on the 40.6 was 9.8. And I was right at an average of 31.18 feet per second. And that's kind of how that reads. The minimum, the maximums. You guys can stop the video or whatever if you're watching this later.
Yep.
Now, this was the DTACs up here. These are the ones I've been shooting forever. And now that I'm running out of bullets, I need to work on something else. So This is where this whole chat comes in. So that's the numbers. So that's what you see.
So these see the velocities, and you see that that 40.8 had an SD of 4.7.
Yep, 4.7.
It also put out this pinhole group, right?
Yep.
So folks will be like, well, shoot, I'm getting hole on hole. I got a low SD. I'm done.
Yeah, and that would be me. I would say, 40.8. That shot really good.
Okay. But
the one above it is 40.8 as well.
Same load.
Same load. I loaded the magazine with 6 rounds, shot 2 3-round groups. This one and this one.
And that was the worst group.
And that sucked.
Yeah.
So there was no wind today. Today was a perfect day to zero. This is only at 100 yards, guys. I can shoot my 22.
Yeah.
But trying to figure all that out. So now you figure out, okay, I would have said, okay, I'm picking this one. Kenny, on the other hand, he picked a completely different one, and then he's going to tell us why. You want to tell us why now, or do we need to? Is there anything else we got to catch up on before we get to this?
We'll go over the tools and stuff. Basically, what we're using to reload this. We're just going to show you the information we gather based off the initial load development. So the group that I picked was the initial 40.6 charge, which was this one right here.
But why? Let's go to this.
Yeah, we're gonna
get all jiggy with it.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the group zoomed in, and now let's talk about the reasons why this compared to that one little guy.
Okay.
So they're not going to be able to see this right now. Just talk about that.
Okay.
Because they're not. We're in the little corner.
It's fine.
Don't try to show anything.
They should be able to see this. So for you guys to see this properly, your target that you have at 100 yards should have a good backer. For instance, putting a paper target behind a nice, crisp backer, cardboard backer. What I look for when I'm shooting a 100-yard group is not only, it's good to have a tight group size, but I'm also looking for bullet stability. If you guys look at this target, you'll see that the outer ring, the carbon ring that you see on the outside of each bullet impact is very nice and it's consistent. It's uniform. It may not be the tightest group, but you can see that the black carbon ring is circled, and that bullet right there, those impacts on the paper are showing me that bullet was completely stabilized at 100 yards, right?
Yeah, because you're looking what? It's evenly or concentric would be the word, I think.
Concentric, yeah. You don't see the carbon ring being off to one side. You don't see the carbon ring canted. This is something you guys will probably start noticing. Again, this target has to be on a nice, crisp backer board. Like if you had this thing that's free floating on there, when it cuts to paper, you're not going to have a good idea of that carbon ring. So the ring that these 3 shots had a consistent impact on all 3 shots.
They're not going to see that.
Yeah, they're not going to see the mouse, right?
Yeah, I don't think.
Okay.
Can you guys see the mouse? I don't think
probably
that's
not.
how it works.
But that was consistent with both 3-shot groups. Now let's go over to one that had. This is with a tight group.
This is the one a lot of you guys picked.
Right. So if you look at this one, it's kind of hard to dictate, but you have 3 shots all in a cluster. It's looking really good. But if you look at the bottom left one, I'll bring another target, but you'll see the carbon ring is kind of canted to the bottom left. On the top impact as well, it was also a little bit
thicker, heavier on the left, right?
Top left. Very, very hard to notice.
Yeah,
but let
it's
me
got more ring on the left.
Yeah. Let me bring you the same powder charge. This will be the same powder charge, but with what I'm talking about. Now, this one, you could clearly see what's going on. These were shot, again, 100-yard group.
This was number
4.
Number 4.
Right.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, 40.7. This is 1/10 of a grain less.
Yeah.
If you look at that 40.7 charge, specifically the bottom impact, the bottom left, you'll see how that carbon ring is more tilted on the bottom of that impact hole. Also, if you look at let's say,
so it's coming in at an angle.
Yeah, it's coming in yawed. It's not completely.
It hasn't stabilized.
Hasn't completely stabilized. The top left, same thing. There's also a little bit of a carbon ring on the bottom as well. It's not like a center punch hole. That's what I look for when I do my load development now. Like I said, the tightest groups aren't necessarily the best because you can have a really tight hole or you can have all shots touching, but having that instability on the bullet actually causes accuracy issues downrange.
Now the one on the right, the top right, that one looks pretty good.
Yeah,
to me,
that one does.
I don't know. I'm not an expert, so
yeah, that one looks as concentric. It looks like it'll stabilize, but again, you're taking the overall all the shots on that. So
shots.
This is information that I'm just basically sharing. I learned this from Jack Neary. He had a good reloading article and start talking about spinning shots. When you start spinning shots or destabilizing a load that's destabilized, these are the things that you're going to look at a 100-yard shot or 100-yard groups. Now, if you want to prove the point of this, for instance, you stuck to the 40.8, take that load that you think is shooting really well and actually take it out the distance at minimum 300 yards, and take another load that had really clean paper hole or punches, and take that again, comparing it at 300 yards, and you might see, for me at least, that the other load that was not as tight actually held a better group at 300 yards than the one that shot tighter at 100 yards.
I'm just kind of going over this for new people that showed up.
So DW asked the question, would the bullet stabilize better further out? The answer is yes. Now,
we could do this, I think.
Yeah.
No, it won't do it.
Yeah, the bullet will stabilize further out. But at that point, when it does stabilize, the bullet or whatever, the projectile, is going to change its trajectory. So you'll have a nice tight node or tight, 5-shot group at 100 yards. It's pitched and yawed. It'll go down range, stabilize, and then that trajectory, based on how where to stabilize at, could actually change. So now your cone of accuracy has increased. So we picked the 40.6 because his rifle seemed to have stabilized that 105 specifically better than the 40.8.
And I'm at 31.18.
Yeah, and his SDs at that 40.6 were 9.8. Not the best, but honestly,
it was actually the worst SDs out of all.
Yeah, worst SDs.
3 measurements.
But
that'll change because
it's
it was brand new brass, so that'll
brass.
tighten up, like you said earlier.
Right, it'll tighten up once you fire form the brass and all that. But honestly, a SD of 12 or better is a good goal to have. You will still make your impacts at long range. The tighter, the better, obviously. But like I said, the goal is not to be a 100-yard pro shooter. Is to actually take your load that you develop and test it down range. A lot of folks don't do that and go ahead and just focus on basically low SD numbers and 100-yard shots.
Yeah.
So
and I'm kind of thinking of it, and now back to the rimfire.
Right.
People are buying ammo that prints really good at 50 yards.
Yep.
And then
we did that test today.
Yeah, we did that test today with a bunch of different rifles.
Yeah.
And a bunch of different lots of ammo, styles of ammo, but let's keep it center fire.
Yep.
But then at 100 yards, it just fell apart. So again, I picked ammo that it shot not as great at 50, but at 100 was way better than the other one. So now back to center fire. Right. Even though it's showing, because I shot a 0.17. I think it was last year. I don't remember what month it was with the Skittles rifle, with the DTAC.
DTACs.
Yeah, and it shot really great. And I think that's kind of one of my issues is out to distance.
You're dropping points.
I'm dropping points. So obviously, we don't even shoot at 100 yards really.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like get the rifle to work for you in that zone,
right?
Compared to making little bug holes at 100 yards because shoot 100 yards.
Yeah. For PRS, we're gonna shoot 300 yards, 700 yards. So if your shooting discipline that you're involved in is going to be shooting 1,000 yards, you need to know what your group is doing at 1,000 yards. That way you can narrow down your cone of accuracy, your hit percentage, basically what it is. You got to factor in how well you can hold your MOA, first of all. Second of all, how well that bullet holds MOA.
Yeah.
And then the third is basically how consistent your ammo is. So.
Okay, so we figured out what charge of powder is going to work the best.
Right.
For us, trying to get that speed that we were looking for. And it wasn't really a search for the speed, right? It was more of a search for, okay, what stabilized at 100.
Yeah.
So we figured that out. Now that's just one component. Let's talk about this. There's many things, but But what's the next thing we're trying to do? So you have I made a load, let's say, and this is it. And it works good at 100, but it wasn't the best group. So now how can I make this same thing turn into something better?
Okay. So for reloading specifically for PRS, we're not talking about F class. There's a whole different slew. It's a whole different rabbit hole for that. For just shooting steel, MOA targets, steel targets at 1,000 yards is typically what we like to do, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to go down the rabbit hole and buying all this crazy equipment. I seen that Spence talked about pointing bullets. That's not needed. Deburring flash holes. I saw that comment earlier. Do not touch the flash holes. Don't touch the flash holes.
Good story.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the Lapua, but
yeah, we'll do it later.
Yeah. Do not. And I'm telling you, this is coming from somebody that has done this. And I was making the same mistakes. When you touch the flash holes, you get that deburn tool to deflash or uniform the flash holes. You actually start messing up the ignition of the actual cartridge. Its ignition. The key, and if anybody takes away from anything, if you guys want low SDs, the number one key component for low SDs is uniform ignition. So if you guys are talking about primer pocket uniforming and all that crap. If you do that, you actually ruin for instance, you take Lapua case, high-end brass, and you uniform
expensive brass.
Yeah, you uniform the primer pocket. You just induced an issue for having uniform ignition. When you see the primer, now Primal Rights, if you guys actually watch the channel or know this channel, he's done a very good test doing this. He actually sells a good primer seating device. To get good ignition, you want the anvil of the primer to just touch the bottom of the actual case itself.
Say that in layman's terms
so it's hard
for me.
Yeah, maybe I could draw a picture, but basically you have the primer, right? The cup itself, you have the primer compound, and then you have the anvil, which is basically that little star shape, looks like a triangle thing or three prong thing. That you have to basically have it to where that anvil is just touching the bottom of the cartridge in the primer pocket hole.
You want it flat,
right?
Or a hair.
So
you don't want it out.
When you actually uniform your primer pockets, you're actually deepening that hole. And what ends up happening is most primer seating or on the press, your primer seater will not be able to push the primer far enough for you to get that anvil contacting the case uniformly. And you'll notice, I've done a test on this, you actually start increasing your SD. Now, this goes hand in hand with deburring your flash hole. Everybody thinks there's a burr in the flash hole. Now, if you want to get rid of the burr, the number one thing to do is just don't use junk brass. If you're chasing accuracy, go with good components. Lapua, Peterson brass, Starline, I had great performance with. Don't expect having low SDs if you're using like Winchester brass or twice fire brass from something else. So starting off with good components like Lapua brass is going to help you lower those SDs, increase your accuracy as well, and get better consistent on your reloads.
All right, let's jump. Todd's got a good question. He says, so would it make sense to just shoot your groups at 300 yards when doing load development?
In a sense, yes, but you're also inducing, you're inviting the elements. So you're going to have
more wind.
Yeah, you're going to have wind. You could have shooter fatigue, depending on your scope. Your parallax could be off. It still is good to shoot 100 yards, but what I'm trying to emphasize is you do need to verify your load development at long range.
All right, we got Conservative Sniper Hunter's got a good question. He says, question for Kenny. Let's say we come up with a load that consistently shoots just over 1 MOA at 100, regardless of moving the bullet closer or farther out, I guess. What would you try next? Continue below.
Okay.
Change of primer or another brand or type of new powder?
Yes. Changing primer manufacturers, in fact, does change a lot of things. Sometimes you'll see it increase your accuracy. Sometimes it makes it go crazy and go haywire. Typically what I use is, for me, I like to use CCI 450 Magnum primers for cases like the 6.5 Creedmoor. I've had good luck with the small rifle primer 6.5 Creedmoor. 6 Creedmoor, I haven't really ventured down this road. This is something I'm actually seeing right now firsthand.
Yeah, I'm running 400.
Yeah, he's running 400s on his. I shoot 450s in my 6 ARC. A lot of folks use 450s in the 6 GT. It's just a primer that seems to be consistent, but it will change your SDs. It will change your accuracy slightly, but that is something you do afterward. If you're just really kind of just fine tuning your hand load, then you want to kind of play with your primer. But honestly, the tools you'll need, and this will be a good topic, the tools that I recommend, if you're getting into precision reloading, specifically just for PRS, we're hitting steel at 1,000 yards, right? You need a bullet comparator. Hornady makes this tool. You could actually buy just the body, the comparator body itself, and then you could buy the bushings, which are this little silver piece here, which will be labeled specifically for the caliber. So this one is for 6mm. You could buy a 223, you could buy a 6.5, you could buy a 7mm, 8mm, whatever it is, specifically just the bushing itself. What I recommend to do is to go ahead and buy the Hornady body comparator set, which will come with these. This will allow you to measure the bottom of the case to the shoulder and get your bullet bump or your shoulder bump set up on your reloading die. So three tools you need is specifically is going to be a good caliper. This one's a Mitutoyo. I've ran.
It's a fake one.
It's a real one.
No, it's not.
It's fake.
It's fake.
Okay.
It's from Amazon.
Good gauges.
Yeah, you want to buy good ones, but that actually we tested it against a real one.
Right.
Because we have really good stuff at work.
Yeah. If you're using junk tools, you're going to have junk data. So folks made fun of me before. I use Harbor Freight Pittsburgh calipers. What folks don't know is that those Pittsburgh calipers have actually been head-to-head put to the test against a Mitutoyo gauge and have actually had a resolution plus or minus within 1,000. So
that's how that ended up being.
Yeah. So even though it's a Pittsburgh gauge from Harbor Freight, I did my research, and at the time, I don't have a lot of money. I'm just like you guys, starting on the reloading. I went and bought that based off reviews, based off testing. The Pittsburgh caliper actually held up. But if you can, definitely stick with Starlet. It's a Sharps and Brown, Mitutoyo, all of that works well. Grab yourself a Hornady comparator kit for measuring your shoulder bump, and then you can buy just a bullet bushing specifically for the caliber you need. So that's the tool that I recommend. The next tool that we're using is the Hornady overall length case gauge. You'll buy this tool. It will not come with the modified case. Now you can see me unscrewing this case here. This is a 6 Creedmoor modified case. This tool allows you to find the bullet jam point to the chamber of your rifle. So when you purchase this, it'll come just like this. You could purchase one that's angled, which will allow you to use that on AR-15s or semi-automatics. This one is a straight push rod one, which will allow you to go to bolt action only.
Oh, I've seen the bent ones before.
Yeah, the bent ones. Yeah, I run the bent one just because it works for both.
Yeah.
It just has, this one's actually a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit more accurate because it's actually a solid rod. The bent Hornady overall case length gauge uses a kind of a wire, so there's a little cable. So there's actually a little bit of flex to that, so you could get variation or flex or their measurements could be off a little bit. So he bought this. The next thing he bought was the Hornady factory overall length case gauge, and we found your max bullet jam point.
It's all in here.
Yeah. So he bought these two tools. He's got a modified case. The next thing that we're going to use is obviously the bullet itself. And we're running the Berger 105s.
Yep.
You're going to specifically grab one and one only in order to reference your measurements. So how this tool works, if you guys are unfamiliar, you just drop the bullet in there. You run this into the chamber of your action. Take the bolt out. Yeah, make sure you got a clear rifle. You're going to push the Hornady overall length case gauge until it stops. I mean, the bullet's going to be up in the rifling, and then you're going to lock it down, right? After that, you will basically back this thing off, and sometimes the bullet will stick in the chamber, so you might have to push it out with a push rod. But as long as this gauge is locked down, you could easily put the bullet back into the modified case, and it's slotted so you could get your calipers and measure overall length. So I start with overall length just to have a reference point. You don't want to set up your reloading dies based off overall lengths because the meat plat, which is the tip of the bullet, can vary. So that's where the bullet comparator comes in handy. So you got your overall length gauge, your overall length notated. The next thing you want to do is get your bullet comparator and actually get your base to OGIVE measurement. Now, every comparator is going to be different. A lot of folks will say, I'm going to give you my comparator number. This is my case-based to OGIVE. These comparators, believe it or not, unless you make your own, actually vary. And how these comparators are made is that they're actually drilled out supposedly to the bore diameter. So this, for instance, being a 6 millimeter, the actual bore itself is drilled out 6 millimeter. But there's variations plus or minus 5/10,000ths, which could cause differences.
But this, I've noticed when I'm doing stuff with pistol.
Yeah.
And some other stuff, not pistol. This ends up being right at 1 inch.
Yeah, so it's very close. They try to.
Watch, let me reset.
Yeah, they try to narrow it down.
And then if I take this off,
yeah, there's a lot of videos out there, and I'm going to point you to a channel called Elfster's Rifles and Reloading. He actually has a lot of live chats and actually video tutorials going over this gauge specifically. So
he's a good reloader.
He's a fantastic reloader. If you guys are new to doing this, definitely check out his channel. He has a lot of videos on the Hornady case comparator kit. So we're just trying to give you an overall general consensus of what we're doing here.
Super J large. I unfortunately don't have any 450s. I had purchased quite a few 400s, and have been running those in my I've been running them for a while now, so they work.
Okay.
And that's what I got. You know how finding components is. You It's not an easy task.
So Rick, you're shooting a lot of the 115s out of your Creedmoor. I mean, do you have like a rough estimate how many round count you have?
7, 8,
800 rounds.
7. I don't know.
Okay, so we'll say that Rick's 6 Creedmoor hit Skittles, or it used to be Skittles, has roughly 800 rounds. That's for a 6 Creedmoor. That's about half the barrel life. Typically, what I see for 6 Creedmoor is 1,600 rounds to 2,400 rounds, depending on how hot you load the cartridge. So we found his max overall length using the Hornady comparator tool stuffed with the 105 Burger was 2.796, and I have plus or minus 3,000s. Mag length for an AICS mag is like 2.890, almost 900. He has literally almost 200 thousandths of play and still be able to mag feed. So your comparator reading with this comparator measured 2.276 inch. That's to jam point. Now for the 6 Creedmoor, and a lot of folks can probably see that, or could probably chime in as well. Every cartridge kind of has its own favorite jump point in the bullet combination. For instance, the 6 Creedmoor, from my experience and my opinion, likes to be around 20 thousandths with the Burger bullets, Burger hybrid specifically. So what I like to do is get the jam point, and we found that out at 2.796, and start your bullet jump at 20 thousandths. So that's what we ended up doing today.
So this is kind of where we're getting to. Mm-hmm. We printed these. Right? We picked the one we liked. Now we're fine tuning the bullet inside of the case at different lengths. Same powder. Now that we figured out what powder we want,
right? Now
it's a matter of how much jump we want.
Yep.
Or what would you say it is the other way?
Yeah,
we're not going into the lands, but like
we're working towards the lands, starting at 20 thousandths and seeing if maybe the barrel likes being closer to the lands. Now, when you're varying your seating depth, you're actually fine tuning the harmonics of the rifle. So seating depth will get basically that, the shots that are, 3-shot groups here and there. You should see it start tightening up the node and then opening back up. Typically, like I said, when I see the 6 Creedmoor, the bullet jump of 20,000 is kind of a good starting point. I've seen anything closer to 15 thousandths, 10 thousandths of bullet jump on some of the rifles that I've built, and then anywhere back out to 70 thousandths jump that the 105 Burger hybrids tend to work very well as well. So we're going both ways. We're going to try to do the 20 thousandths jump and work closer. We did that today. And next, we're going to actually go back and actually do a bullet jump further back to up to 70 thousandths, and we're going to fine tune that harmonics of that rifle now.
Well, let's talk about node for a second.
Okay.
Because I didn't know there was one. I know there's one for powder. So a node is like a window that you want to be in. So give your explanation for the powder charge node.
Okay. Then that'd be, yeah.
Because we throw these words out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they're thinking, well, what's a node? And then we're still yapping about something else now. So let's try to give them a little idea what the heck we're talking about. So
the recipe basically that you're coming up with, the bullet, the powder, the primer you're using, the powder charge, the bullet seating depth, all of that.
You need to answer it?
No, it's just the ring. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. You're basically tuning the harmonics. So imagine this being your barrel. You're going to have the harmonics, the whip, and all that stuff. You've probably seen this before. The node is basically, the term for it is resonance, resonance frequency. You want the whip or the harmonics to zero out at the muzzle tip. That is basically finding the node of your rifle. And it's not just up and down. Your barrel honestly will whip, upside down, circles, and all that stuff. Just think about a tuning fork. When you flick your tuning fork, it's going to have a certain pitch. Well,
but what you're saying, you're looking for it to, when it gets to here again, to center.
Right.
So it's going down, it's doing this, going this, but when it's exiting the bullet, it's in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Of the harmonic.
Yeah. You got amplitude and altitude in the bottom of your node, and you want that thing at the middle point, which is called resonance. That's the actual term for that. That's AC/DC theory and stuff. It plays in the same factor for us. So
okay, so then the node is the window of the best shot. So
Yep.
you're shooting a different point that, point this, point that, and your barrel's here, and then it's down here and here, and then you find the center. Then you're like, okay, that's that.
Yeah. So,
but that's the window of opportunity.
yeah, your window of opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, when you find a node, there's guys that talk about wide nodes and then talk about narrow nodes. For us, since we shoot in all different kind of weather, we can shoot in the morning, we shoot in the afternoon. You really want to find something called the wide node, and how you find that is you could when you're actually looking at your velocity, and this comes in tail with folks that have done this called the Saturday method. If you guys are familiar, or the round robin, for instance, is something that they do. They shoot a series of powder charges and find what they consider a plateau of velocity, where your velocity is climbing, and then just settles out within 1 grain of each other. So, for instance, you go to 40 grains, you go to 42 and 44. The velocity stayed at like 3,023. You got 3,027, 3,030. That plateaued right there. And after that, you went to 40.6, and all of a sudden your velocity jumped up to 3,075. That's considered the node. There's a velocity node that some folks could narrow down their harmonics based off that load data. But honestly, you don't need to do all of that. From what I'm seeing, I'm kind of been changing my reloading habits and kind of going back to the basics. But when you go with the node, you'll see that, for me at least, that I could vary my powder charge up to half a grain and still hold that group in SD. And that's where you want to be. You want to have a wide node. That way, when you go to different regions and shoot, like you go to the West.
Yeah, it gets hotter.
Yeah.
Stuff gets faster.
Yeah, you don't all of a sudden all of those weather changes bumps you out of your accuracy. So that's basically where you want to be in your node. Now, is there any questions? Is this kind of
will nodes change throat wear? There's a bazillion questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos out there. Obviously there's one that's famous called chasing. Don't chase your lands. It's a great video, and the takeaway from it, honestly, it is true. It's great information, but if you think about it, you're not chasing the lands, you are chasing your node. He's 100% correct. You found that your recipe that you came up with, your bullet charge, your bullet weight, your bullet seating depth, all of that played in the fact of having a recipe. That is your node. And as your throat wears out, as you're shooting more and more rounds, now your bullet seating, your jump point is honestly changing, because now you wore out all the throat and the free bore, and now you want to seat the bullet further out. And people consider that chasing the lands. And in my opinion, you can interpret it both ways. It's literally the same. You're chasing the node, you're chasing the lands. You're chasing that point where your bullet needs to be. And when you start doing that, you may need to bump up your powder charge to get you back in that node
and change your depth, right?
Yeah, you're changing your depth. You're pushing the bullet out further.
What about that?
What other powders are you getting good results?
Because it is hard to find stuff right now.
Yeah, Hodgdon 4350 is a very hard powder. Now, Jay Bird, what specific cartridge? Because I could give you, from what I've seen. I've been playing around with Shooter's World powder. I played around with 6.5 stay ball. I've had really good results with 6.5 stay ball. Another great powder for 4350 equivalent for the Creedmoor class is Reloader 16, which is a unicorn powder as well. So,
and
the Shooter's World
reloading one, not the H350.
Yeah, it's Shooter's World long range is the more
long range.
Yeah,
or precision. Is it long range?
It's long range. It's a blue bottle. So Shooter's World also makes H4350, and honestly, it
makes SW. Yeah,
4350.
I got some of it in there, and I've noticed using it.
Yeah.
It's slower.
See, it's got a different burn rate. The Shooter's World SW50 or 4350 is actually like a Reloader 26. It's actually slower from my testing as well. It's not equivalent to 4350 at all. I would say the 6.5 stay ball, the Shooter's World long rifle, and the Reloader 16 are all in that realm of being 4350, which you could have really good results with the Creedmoor class cartridges, the GTs. If you shoot at 4350 in a GT, what's another good cartridge? I believe the Dasher shoots 4350 or Varget, but that's the powders I've seen work very well.
Oh, it's for 6 Creed, yeah.
6 Creed. Yeah, 4350. Reloader 16. A lot of folks that I know switched over to Reloader 16. At least where I'm at. It's dang. It's pretty hard to find. I understand. It does come in stock. If you are looking for reloading components, how I get them is I actually follow a Discord channel called Reloading. You can sign up on the Discord channel and it will notify you when things come in stock. The best thing to have success in checking out is to have your login credentials already logged in, and
your card saved.
Yeah, your card saved, and you're literally have to check out in about a few seconds. So that's how I've been getting it.
I got super lucky.
Yeah,
there was an amazing person that sent me a email that said it's H4350. I don't know if he wants to say who it is, but
yeah, I got you.
I don't want to get him in trouble or whatever, or get me in trouble.
All right.
But I did find 16 pounds of H4350, but I had to cut off a finger and a leg. And
yep. Vidivori powder. Yep. Also, I actually just started playing with Vidivori powder. I've heard really good results with that. So as of right now, I'd be interested to see your results on that.
Look at Big Money Elster, 48 pounds.
48 pounds?
48 pounds of H4350 on the wall.
Dude, you better not put that public. That's hazmat.
No, he has it set up in a fireproof vault.
All right.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, see?
Okay. Yeah, see?
So the next step that we're going to do on this, we just did the initial load development. Obviously, we would like to see that the group's tighter, but realistically, for the type of shooting that we do, we're shooting.
Don't say it. I know exactly what you're going to say.
1 MOA target.
Ah, jeez.
1 MOA targets or 1.5 MOA targets. And where I go shooting,
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, my MOA.
All you need is 1 MOA.
All you need is 1 MOA. But my range that I shoot into, my PRS range that I go to, they have targets out to 1,350 yards. They stretched out to 1,600 yards, but the targets are like 32 inches. And obviously, we're shooting off barricades. You're shooting off a positional prone. It's one of the longest PRS matches, the longest range PRS matches I've actually shot. Then they go ahead and they have stages where you have a 3-inch plate at like 280 yards, or you have a 5-inch plate at like 600 yards. They go pretty crazy, and you're shooting this off rooftops and stuff. So one MOA targets. With all of that said, this is where I was talking about when you do your load development, you want to test down range how well that load holds MOA. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And for us, I told him, you don't need to have a 0.2 shooter or a 1/4-inch shooter. It's nice to have that, but we're actually going to take the load that we develop and we're going to try it out at 700 yards. That's the local range that he has here. So I'd say realistically for PRS, you would like a 3/4 MOA or at least an MOA or better. You'll be able to be competitive in that sense.
A rifle is only a certain percentage of the impact.
Yep. Let's see. There's another question.
IMR 4451 is also a H4350 substitute, just about 70 feet per second slower.
Yeah, I haven't had luck with 4451. I've seen it. I played with it. Well, that's just from me. I tend to stick with just 4350 because it's just proven to work. I mean, you could venture down that road, and that's another thing too. So if you guys are looking for reloading information, yeah, like I said, I always have to say consult the reloading manual, but it isn't a bad thing to look online on forums and see what folks are coming up with. You can kind of get a justification, an area where you need to be. Like for instance, this guy, you want to know what a 109 burger could do in a 6 Creedmoor. Well, you start looking online, you start looking at Sniper's Hide, you start seeing the PRS blog is another good one.
Yeah, but Sniper's Hide is great because it gives good information, and if it's not good information, they'll.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So obviously you don't want to just take that information, load it up, and go out there and shoot a match. You want to work up to that. But if you're working up to that, and for instance, your results are landing and coinciding with with a majority of folks, for instance, 4350 at 41 grains, that will tell you that, hey, you know what? Maybe this is where I need to be.
Thanks, Jacob.
So.
Sometimes we have fun, Jacob. Sometimes we give off some good information. So hit the subscribe button, buddy.
Absolutely. Now, is there any questions on, like, for instance, reloading gear?
Hold on. Yeah, right here's a good one.
Okay.
Are you using an amp annealer? No, I'm using EP integration.
EP integrations. Elster's Rifles Reloading EP integrations. That's what we use.
Get over to there.
That's an
It's
awesome.
actually
awesome
it's super quick. You can go from 223. Actually, you can do 300 blackout all the way up to 50 cal and change it in a matter of seconds.
Yep.
So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the amp annealer is a great machine.
It is. It's super expensive.
I'll be honest, dude. The tools that I
Wait,
use.
You haven't been honest this whole time? I hate when people say, "I'll be honest."
Okay, I'm always on. I'm straightforward. I'll be straightforward with you guys. You don't need all of this high-end equipment. I mean,
you don't.
I've used to anneal cases, and I kid you not, using a drill and a socket and my propane torch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I haven't been reloading for like 100 million years either.
Right.
Once I started shooting the long range stuff, we're trying to make the 22 ammo. I didn't anneal until I started shooting 6.5 Creedmoor and stuff like that.
Right. And
so
then,
that's new to me as well.
I know that question is going to pop up is how many times do you anneal? I personally anneal every single time after the second firing of brand new brass. So when I get all of my measurements, fire forming my cases, I would take the measurements and all that. And from the second firing to the third firing, after the third firing, I am annealing every single time I reload.
I am now too.
Yeah.
Now that I have an annealer, it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Why do you have an annealer? One, save life on brass,
right.
and other stuff. But it's like that's a big saving. Every box over there that's blue, it's Lapua is $100-something bucks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I can keep that stuff a lot longer, having an EP integrations annealer, it makes it so easy.
Okay.
What's up, Michael?
So yeah,
big tasty shooting star.
Can I just talk about the short action custom dies and all that? You can get really high end stuff, and to be honest, well, to be straightforward, you don't need it. You could get away with typical reloading dies. I would recommend, for me personally, I like the Redding body die. The Redding body die does not do anything to the neck, and you could buy those for $38. How I get my neck tension is I switch over to the Lee collet die, and if you guys don't know, the Lee collet die, you can actually buy the mandrel, different sizes to set your neck tension. And I like using the Lee collet die. It's actually specifically designed on a brand new annealed cases. You could actually swage and uniform the actual case thickness. So that's why I use it. Let's see. Now you have a A&D FX scale.
I have the 300.
Right. So
I have two actually.
He's got I believe Elster Rifles Reloading has one. Yep, he's got one. This is the first time he actually playing with one first-handed. It's a very awesome scale, super sensitive.
Yeah, I showed him. I'm like, just don't walk fast.
Yeah, don't fart.
Don't breathe. You wave your hand across it, and that pressure of the wind moving will make that scale you saw.
Yeah,
it's like so. It's a little tricky when you first get one, and if you don't have actually Todd has the perfect thing, and that's his own little table that fits on the table. So he has 4 legs on each side.
Right.
So he can, and that's what I need to do because that old rough cut lumber, it's a pain in the butt to make it all perfectly level.
Yeah, I would say I would purchase a machinist block, and then you can put a scale like that on there. Now, you guys will probably laugh at me. I reload with an $8 scale, and it's not a Hornady, it's not a Dillon, it's literally an Amazon Wowee scale. If Chico's still here, he'd probably laugh. He knows what that is.
And before you laugh, you're getting low SDs.
I
like
could get,
low SDs.
So
a lot better than any factory ammo.
Yeah, so I could hit single digit SDs with an $8 scale. We go back to what we're talking about, finding the node and finding a wide node. When I was talking about varying the powder charge up to half a grain to 1 grain, that's where I find it. And typically what I see is the powder charge really doesn't make that big of a difference for the type of shooting that I do. So,
yeah. No, and that's the thing is there, you can buy books, you can buy the equipment, you can get the components. But if you have someone that you can bounce stuff off of, it says, I read this, I do a lot of like ask questions with Ray, because he's just a few minutes down the street.
Right.
It's like, hey, Ray, I think I got this figured out.
Okay.
But I want you to check it because you are shooting and there's an explosion happening right here in front of your face. You know, and I'm making sure I'm doing the best I can, quality control for stuff. But like just to double check before you know, so that's why I was like, come on over. Yeah. Let's try to get this figured out because I could make a bullet that's probably going to be okay.
Right.
But I would rather, and we said it earlier in the chat, but if you just got here, I'm more of a like parrot. You know, a parrot will just say the same thing as far as reloading. Once that stuff's set up, I can make ammo no problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like saying the same thing over and over. I can cookie cutter it, but it's when it's the little tweaks of getting the jam or finding the jumps and stuff like that. I don't have that knowledge yet.
It is tough. I mean, it's taking me a lot of equipment, a lot of bad purchases, and honestly, research to figure out where to start. And that's the biggest, to me, that's the hardest part about reloading is knowing where to start. And like I said, for me, you set a goal. If, for instance, your goal is to shoot a 1/2 inch, you got to be a little bit more realistic. Okay, what's your philosophy of use? What's your target engagement? I'm going to hit this IPSC target. It is a 24 by 36 inch target at 1,000 yards. Well, MOA, again, if you're talking about minutes of angle, this is a rough estimate, 10-inch plate. You got a 24-inch target by 36, and you're trying to hit half of that. It's not going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but more realistically, it will not. So opening that your goals up to realistically a 1 MOA or 1.5 MOA at distance is to match your goal to hit your target is realistically your goal that you should be setting.
And keep it realistic.
Keep it realistic. Yeah. Don't overstress it. You can, and I see this all the time. There's a lot of folks that will do load development and they're just showing this and it's great knowledge. It's great information on YouTube. You're burning out a barrel if you're, trying to figure out this magical combination. Again, you're only shooting 100 yards and you're only taking in just that quarter bit of information. You don't know what that load does long range. You could do all of this load development and 600 rounds down later, everything has changed because now you just wore out your barrel. You rotated your barrel. Your node that you found 600 rounds before previously is just all bad data now. And you go shoot that at long range or something. You got for instance, a groundhog at 600 yards, and you're wondering why you're freaking 3 groundhog, a minute of 3 groundhogs. 300 yards trying to figure that out. So, like I said, don't be a 100-yard pro shooter. You definitely, set a goal. Look at these little things that we showed you with the group size, and then honestly, don't overthink it. It's not really that difficult to find it out. The best thing you could do for yourself is honestly find something that is in that met your goal. 1 MOA, just 0.7. For me, I like to see a 0.6 and shoot it at 1,000 yards or whatever you plan on shooting for long range.
No, that makes sense.
Right. And start with good components. Don't all right. Start with like Lapua brass. Start with Peterson brass and all that. Now,
Alpha.
Yeah, here's a good information that I like to share for folks. How do I get my rifle shooting better? Before you get into all of this reloading, science rocket stuff.
Yeah, the first thing be just you not doing well.
Right, it could be all of that.
It could be the shooter.
The first thing I would do is to determine if your rifle will definitely meet your goal. Obviously, reloading it will help you tighten up your rifle's performance, but if your goal is to hit 1/2 minute groups, but your rifle's only shooting with match grade ammunition, 1.5 MOA, I can almost guarantee you that goal will not be met. And the reason why I say this is because I have done this plenty of times. For instance, my Savage, my Mossberg, my Ruger RPR. I've had issues trying to meet my goal of 1/2 inch MOA. And the reason for it is production rifle barrels sometimes have flaws. So my first thing to recommend is to go out there and buy 2 to 3 sets of match grade ammunition. For instance, you're going to see if you're shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor, get Hornady match 147, 140 grain ELDs, and see if your rifle will print a sub MOA group. If it does, then that rifle will be capable of meeting your goal with hand loads. If it does not meet your standards or cannot hold an MOA group, the first thing I would do is rip that freaking barrel off, chuck it in the trash, and get yourself a pre-fit. A good barrel is going to be a good basis to start your load development. You'll see it on my channel. I have a Mossberg 500 or Mossberg ATR. It was a youth rifle. I did all these videos trying to do load development on the 308. Shot like crap. Never shot good. The next thing I did is put on a Douglas big old heavy contour barrel. As soon as I put that thing on there, 0.25, 0.3, half inch groups easily out of that rifle. So the barrel, having a good barrel is a huge benefit. And again, I would start with match grade ammunition, and that's a good consensus where to start.
It's like putting lipstick on a pig.
Lipstick on a pig, right?
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense, because if you're starting off with crap, more than likely you're going to end up with crap.
Yeah, and then you
can go from really crappy crap to just crap.
Right
there you go. But
and then components these days are expensive. You look at Lapua cases, $1.50 a case. Your time and effort down range, all of that. I mean, you're spending all of that money, your time, and I'm not saying you won't meet your goal. It can happen, but more than likely it will not. From my experience, having a rifle that shoots a 1.5 MOA with match grade, I can get it to shoot tighter, but it will not perform the way I want to. It's better to spend money going out there and buying a pre-fit barrel or having a gunsmith build a barrel for your rifle. For instance, the person I would recommend if you just want to buy a pre-fit barrel and do it yourself, it would be Crown Ridge Barrel Works. He's in Washington. He makes pre-fits for Savages, Remages, Tikas, all of that, even Howas and all that. Start with a good barrel. It's like $380. If you take account how much you spend on reloading components, that's really nominal. It's not that much money at all.
And time,
gas
going to the range, all that stuff, especially right now. Hell,
right.
Let's see. Now, I don't know how true this is. So, say you have Barrel X. This isn't so much on the bolt gun stuff. This is overall,
right?
Just rifles in particular. This lot of barrels is kind of subpar.
Yeah.
So that, those might get sent off to Rifle Company X.
Okay. Yep.
Right. These ones are quite a bit better, and they get sent off to this rifle company.
Right.
Now, do you see that being the case? So let's say you buy, and this is all, I'm just hypothetical. Say you got, let's call it Company 1, Company 2, Company 3. And so let's say this is a lower budget, kind of mid and then a real high end kind of deal.
Right.
That's the reason why you're paying for that money, right?
Yeah, you're
paying the money for the better stuff.
Yeah, you're paying the money for tighter spec chambers. So when you get a production rifle, they actually tend to favor what I consider the max SAMI spec, and the reason for it is so they can reliably chamber factory ammunition. There's always variances on factory ammunition, so that's why when you get a production rifle, for instance, a Savage Access, I'm not saying they don't shoot. I've seen a lot of Savage Accesses shoot. It's doing as a comparison. I buy Savage Access and 6.5 Creedmoor. I go to fire the brass, and I find out that from a brand new case to my fired brass, it has grew 8,000s. That's pretty typical. You'll see.
So it's a sloppier chamber.
It's a sloppier chamber. It is basically chambered to allow you to shoot
federal or anything.
Yeah, federal, Sailor, Ballat, whatever you could get in hand. They're tailored. Production rifles are tailored for reliability. They are trying to mitigate having a lawsuit. When you go to a custom barrel, what you're paying for is tighter tolerances. If you think about reloading for precision, you're taking a case that is sized down to minimum, and you're trying to duplicate or basically minimize the variances of expansion on brass, all of that. I mean, everything is tighter. You basically are reloading to tighter specs. So when you have a custom barrel made and a tighter chamber, now your brass is only expanding 2,000s.
Yeah.
then when you set up your reloading die, you're only bumping back and full length sizing 2000s.
That means your brass is getting worked less.
Yeah, your brass is
It's
going
going
to
to
work
last
less.
longer.
You're going to get better SDs.
Yeah, and hopefully you're annealing throughout this whole thing.
All of that. So that's the benefit to having a custom barrel made, is your tighter tolerances are going to help you achieve, if you're chasing accuracy. Now, if you're just a hunter, you don't care, you need reliability, you're in the ruck, you're in the rain, you got mud flying in your rifle, that's where the production rifle comes in hand, because then you don't give a crap if it's doing 1 minute groups or 1.5, because your target engagement is 200 yards on an elk. You got a 5-inch kill zone. You know?
See, and that makes sense. A lot of people, they buy a rifle, they shoot it, 10 rounds a year.
Yeah.
Zero it in just at the beginning of elk or deer season or something.
Right.
Maybe a couple shots, whatever the case is, they put it back until next year, and
yeah, don't see it again.
I don't see it again.
Right. Yeah. Or some guys are, taking production rifles and trying to get adventurous accuracy. I've been that person. I've done that. I took a Savage 110 tactical and made impacts at a mile with a $30 scope. It's just you could do it. I mean, it's you could be done. Is it efficient? No. And I was learning at the time, but I still made it happen. I would say that I could make better impacts at a mile now, from what I know, versus me taking 20 shots at a target and finally getting an impact and bragging about it. So
look at that. Is your 6 Creed chambered with a Sammy?
So his chamber is actually tighter on free bore. His chamber was a 115 on free bore. So there's all kinds of different chambers for the Creedmoor. It really depends on the type of bullet you plan on shooting.
So that's the same as a rimfire thing with the 22.
Absolutely.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew there was a little bit of things, but not like.
Yeah.
I was so blown away about all the different 22s.
Right. Here's another good topic. When you go to, for instance, somebody to build you a custom barrel or custom rifle, I would ask them, the gun shop specifically, what reloading die best fits the chamber or the reamer you plan on chambering my rifle with. They should have an answer to that. A good rifle smith or somebody building your rifle will know the specs of the reamer, and then also know what reloading die is going to best size that brass to that chamber. So for me, the reamers that I have are spec'd out towards redding dies. And the reason for why I do that is because redding dies seem to be a little bit more consistent with resizing brass. But that's what I do. So when I order my reamers, I order from Dave Manson or JGS. I give them the specs, or they'll give me a blueprint. Based off the blueprints, I will contact Redding. I will ask them, do these blueprints match your chamber or your resizing die? If they say yes or no, or this could be changed, tweaked, or whatever, they'll give me those measurements. I go ahead and forward those specs to the JGS or Dave Manson, whoever's building a reamer, and that's what I get the reamer to. But anybody building a custom rifle, they should know, if you're going to hand load for it, what reloading dies fit that chamber. Let's see here.
Let's see.
So it is a point when buying a factory rifles. I know Joe take a Borescope. Yep. So Elster brings up a good point. A Borescope is a very inexpensive tool to buy nowadays.
Yes. Very great tool to have.
Yep. Teslon is what I use. They're buying them on Amazon starting at $40. They upwards to $150 depending on what model.
You cannot beat them.
Right. Yeah. The Borescope's going to show you two things. One of them, and I'll warn you, if you're OCD, it's going to drive you nuts.
Oh, copper fouling.
Copper fouling. You think you're cleaning your barrel.
And carbon rings.
Oh my gosh.
Drive your shit ass crazy.
So yeah, if you're OCD,
don't get one.
Don't get one. It's just going to drive you nuts.
I can't get this copper out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
It just won't come out.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
It's a great tool to have, because what I thought for me, I had a really good cleaning regimen, which I thought I did. I went ahead and bought that Borescope, and all of that went out the window.
Yo, why is it gold in here?
It's freaking gold. What is this crap? Where's my rifling?
I didn't know these were gold lined barrels.
Where's my freaking rifling? So, the Borescope is kind of an eye opener. You start noticing what you don't do. And honestly, also on top of that, too.
You know what? Keep talking. I'm going to go take a picture with the Borescope in the 6 Creed right now.
Okay.
Because it's about gold.
It's about gold.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we could open this topic up now to cleaning rifles and what I do. Some of the things I shared with Rick. But yeah, Borescopes a great tool to have. It will tell you basically what's happening to your barrel. It'll tell you if you're cleaning your barrel. It'll tell you if there's any damages. You can look at your crown, see if there's any chips and nicks and all that. Another good thing I use the Borescope for is finding your max case overall length, your trim length. So here's another trick. You can actually get your Borescope, like a Teflon Borescope, get your fired cases, or for instance, resized brass, shove the Borescope in through the muzzle in all the way down to the chamber and see where your brass lies. And see if you're over trimming your brass or under trimming your brass. It's a really good tool to have. So that's what I use it for. He's grabbing his, which we were looking into, is 6 Creedmoor.
Trying to find out how to get to the pictures.
Yep. But folks would ask me, how many times do you clean your barrel?
Whoa. Almost crashed.
Yeah, I clean my barrel pretty often.
Clean your barrel.
Yeah, it's my OCD habits.
Thanks for memory.
Yep. A good barrel, Wes, like for instance, a barrel blank, they will run around $380 to upwards to $600 some dollars. I've seen Brooks barrels. I've seen Helix 6 barrels go up to $1,300. That's a carbon fiber barrel. That's just a barrel blank. And then you still got to pay the riflesmith or gunsmith to chamber that thing. So I would say, depending on the type of barrel, for instance, you go with the Krieger barrel, chambered and threaded 5H24, or for the muzzle, crown, and all that, can run you upwards up to $600. Places like Crown Ridge Barrel Works, he offers pre-fit barrels for around, I think, just under $400. I believe he uses a lot of Excalibur barrels. I do too, and I've had really good luck with Excalibur, and that's a good buy. $400 for a barrel. Oh.
Let me show off the carbon ring first.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get this to. It's probably gonna look like crap.
It's looking like crap.
You know what? I'm just not gonna be able to show you guys again.
The carbon ring, yeah.
The old carbon ring. All right, doesn't work. This thing right here, you can see it's got a long cable on it per se.
Right.
You got the screen, so you don't have to use your phone. There is models where Wi-Fi is into your phone or Bluetooth. Those kind of suck because then you don't have your phone available. But it's got a little angled camera on it, or a mirror in the front of it, so you can see the side walls of your barrel. You can spin the cable, but it's got a long enough cord, especially in your PRS rifles that are really long.
Yeah.
I had the straight one
before
the stick.
Yeah, stick, yep.
But it wasn't long enough for the rifle.
Yeah.
It wasn't long enough for the...
Yeah. Story of his life, his tool's too short.
Yeah. And we're taking a turn down the road. And things just went sideways.
All right. Joe's asking if I played around with a 400 mod BBs. Yeah, those bar line barrels, actually, I have. They're cryogenically treated. That's what they're doing to those barrels. Now, is there a different composition on metallurgy? I don't know. I can't confirm that. Obviously, I don't know the specs of a Bart line. I do know that there's only a handful of stainless steel manufacturers in the country, specifically 7 of them. And Crucible is one of them that I know provides barrels, or basically these 416R stainless steel to these barrel manufacturers. And they're all have to be a certain type of metallurgy involved. The type of phosphor, I forgot the name of the nickel inside the barrel and all this stuff has to be a certain amount. But typically the 400 mod BBs, they were just cryogenically treated. Yes, I have seen cryogenically treated barrels actually perform and last longer in barrel life and be a little bit more consistent with velocity numbers. I've seen the one that I chambered, specifically the 400 BB. It was a 6 GT that I built it in, and I believe that guy has over 3,000 rounds in it right now.
Nice. We're at an hour and 24 minutes. We usually last 1 hour and 30.
Yep. So,
while they're asking any last questions, man, it's been fun. You've been hanging out.
Hang out. No,
it's been a good time.
I can't believe I'm out here. It's actually not that bad to get out here. I'll be out here a little more often. You guys got some awesome matches out here, by the way.
It's a great place to shoot.
It's a great place to live, man.
Oh, for sure.
Might be neighbors.
There you go. I won't complain.
That's right. He'll get tired of me. I'll drink all the sweet tea.
Oh, hell no.
Let's see.
Elster's got something showing up Thursday.
Elster got okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, Dick Hedges was out here with us on that NRL match.
Yeah,
that was fun to meet him.
Him and his four amigos.
Four amigos, yeah.
Yep. That was a good time.
But yeah, I think maybe on another live chat we could showcase the final results of your rifle. We're going to take it out to Clinton House or something just to shoot a long range.
Yeah, hopefully. So basically over there is loaded ammo. We got 5 of each at certain
seating
depths, and once we figure that out, I'm full speed ahead because I need to get ammo loaded for the match in 2 weeks.
Yep. And if you're using Lapua brass, you better get the right.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
So I have 400 rounds of Lapua brass for 6 Creedmoor small primer pocket, and I didn't know this. One, because I didn't. And 2, because I've never heard of it before. So the primer pocket hole, flash hole, is smaller than my Starline brass. So I ran a decapper, the auto centering one, which was
for the short action custom.
No, that one's
the FW arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had done 18 that we had shot making this, making these holes.
Right.
What the hell? And what I didn't know was that actually has the bigger or the normal or the what the hell would you call it? Non-Lapua size.
The
decapping pin.
Yeah, the decapping pin is 80 thousandths, and what Rick didn't know was that the Lapua brass or Lapua, it's the correct pronunciation, is using the 47 thousandths flash hole. So I'm hearing him decap the brass. I'm hearing clunk. I'm like, that don't sound right.
I don't know if it was that bad.
It wasn't bad. I mean, I just heard a tone, different tone. I look over and look at the primer holes, and I'm seeing this indentation on his primer pockets. I'm like, oh,
that is a fact.
Oh crap! You got the wrong freaking decapping pin in there.
So we had to make our own.
Yeah,
I did order some new ones.
Yeah, you can fix that if you are MacGyver. Just get yourself a drill.
Oh, we did good.
A drill and a grinder.
Yeah, we had a grinder. I had a grinder as it was going, and he had a drill as it was going. So it was perfectly centered, perfectly ground down. I mean, it was a machine shop.
It was a machine shop. Yeah, it'll work. We fixed that.
Air enthusiastic.
Enthusiast,
he knows exactly what we're talking about.
Right. And then once you do that, you basically ruin that brass. I mean, it'll work, but you're probably not going to get super consistent numbers.
People we know shoot big hold, small flash.
Maybe.
I didn't know. I was like,
if I
only did 18. I would have done every one of them damn things when it came back around to redoing them all. To reload, after reloading.
Yep, 300 Lapua cases
dead in the water. Yeah. So I was trying to get more. Ignition at the point of origin.
That's right. Getting more bang. Getting
more bang for your buck.
Yeah, getting that bang button going.
Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. I did. And if you did, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. Get on over to Desert Precision Gunworks. And most importantly, for the YouTube side of it, we got Eagle Eye Shooting.
Thank you.
He does a lot of cool stuff over there at Eagle Eye Shooting on YouTube, so check him out. And other than that, hopefully you guys stick around, watch some more videos, all that fun stuff. So see you on the next live chat. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, if you guys have questions, if you guys are watching this live chat later on, definitely drop a comment below. Most importantly, smash that thumbs up button. It'll help us out. It helps spread this information out to the community here. But like I said, if you have questions, drop a comment below. We'll get right back to you.
And get your kids out shooting, Dick Hedges says.
That's right.
Well said, buddy. And tonight's chat sponsor was DP Gunworks.
Sure.
Over there in Arizona. So you guys have a wonderful night. Take care, and experience is a good teacher. Well said, Michael. See you guys on the next one.